Hello, everybody. Today we're doing something a little different. We're gonna be talking about my favorite horror franchise. I refuse to believe that October is over, and I will continue coping with that until next October. Now, before we get into the tier list, let me explain how I'm ranking these movies. I'm going to be going on how much I enjoyed the movie, not how strong the narrative is, not how fantastic the writing is or any of that stuff, just simply how much I enjoyed the movie. Of course, how good the writing is or all that stuff would influence my enjoyment, but if we have a case of it's so bad it's good, then I could raise it. And to this day, I still have not seen Rob Zombie's second Halloween movie. I am continuously told that this is a blessing and that I should continue not to see it. But Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, where is it? Aha, right here, will be serving as our placeholder for Halloween Kills, since this doesn't really have a Halloween Kills. So with that being said, let's go in chronological order. The original Halloween! Easy S tier. Come on, that's the easiest S tier of my life. The classic still holds up so well, super well. I rewatched it this spooky season quite a few times. It keeps my attention every single time I watch it. The feeling of autumn is incredibly strong in this movie. It's so great. For atmospheric reasons, watching this in fall is fantastic. I absolutely adore the cold blue lighting at night. It's such a great way to make everything just feel a little extra chilly. The characters are all likable. The music is phenomenal. The suspense is at an all-time high in this movie. Great build-up to a fantastic payoff. I love just about every single performance in this movie. Donald Pleasance, of course, steals the show whenever he's on screen. If I had to nitpick, the only bit I wasn't too fond of was Linda's actress performance when she's being strangled by the phone line. Comes off as a little too extra for me. Absolutely not a deal breaker. That's just nitpicking. Everything else she does, I love. And that goes for the rest of the actors. It still has my favorite chase scene of all time in any horror movie. Laurie and Myers, the last chase scene, phenomenal. Absolutely great. The amount of suspense and like it just captivates you. I love Jamie's performance through it, especially when she just makes it out of the Wallace house and starts screaming for help. It feels like absolutely genuine terror. But I better cut this a little short and save it for a proper review before I ramble for too long. The original Halloween, easy S tier, baby. All right, Halloween 2. This pick might be a little controversial. It's B tier for me. It is B tier. Oh no. I can feel it. Can you feel it? I can feel the angry mob attacking my comment section as we speak. No! Stay away! Back, foul beast. Let me explain. Let me explain why this movie is B tier. So first off, it is not Dick Warlock's fault. Let me flat out say this. If the information I have is correct, I am not a fan of his portrayal of Michael Myers, but it's not his fault. I have been told that when portraying Michael Myers, he asked if his performance was good, and Deborah Hill said, "Yeah, bro, it's great." And then when the movie actually came out, everyone was like, Myers' performance is a little too robotic. And then Deborah Hill said, "Yeah, it's a little too robotic." And then poor Dick Warlock was like, "Bro, I asked you if it was okay, and you said it was good." Like, it's not his fault, but it's in the movie. Michael Myers in this movie, he's way too stiff for me. A lot of people that aren't into the Halloween franchise will be like, "Isn't he supposed to be like a slow-moving robot?" Not to this extent. I'll have like a comparison clip somewhere on screen at this moment from the original Halloween compared to how he moves in Halloween 2. He moves a lot more stiff in the second movie. He moves like a normal person in the first movie. In the second movie, though, he's so abysmally slow, it takes me out a little bit. It doesn't ruin it, but it takes me out a little bit. However, the kills are really great in this one. A lot of memorable ones. The hot tub one, the scalpel with the nurse is such a good kill. If they are indeed making a Halloween video game right now, I really hope if a scalpel is a weapon, I want to be able to recreate that kill. It's such a cool kill. But yeah, all the kills, the needle through the forehead and stuff like that, kills are super memorable. And there are a few other things about Michael Myers, like at the very beginning, when he just kind of like pops. It's not like I don't have a problem with him popping out of nowhere, but him like literally like it looks like he just jumps onto frame and kills the teenager girl. That was a little strange. Um, I mean, the mask is fine. It's still the same mask. It looks a little different, of course, but it looks good here. It looks good. The performances from all the other characters that aren't Michael Myers, they're great. Jamie's great. Lots of memorable characters. The pervy doctor nurse guy or whatever. The nurse herself. The sweet kid that has a crush on Jamie. Poor Ben Tramer. I will never forget you. Love Ben Tramer in this household. We stand Ben Tramer in this household. I really like that it picks up on the exact same night. I like that it continuously after you watch 78, you could just go straight into Halloween 2. I like that aspect. The music is good. I like the music. I do not really like the brother sister plot line. That brings it down a little bit for me. I've always preferred Michael Myers to not have a clear motive. I don't mind if I don't mind that, like, he's on his way home in the original or anything like that. But I don't like when you make it so clear cut, cookie cutter. This is what he is. He's after his sister. I think it removes a lot of the mystery from him. It doesn't remove all of it because it's still like, oh, that's a little weird for him to be like killing his sister or like, you know, trying to finish off the bloodline. Like, it gives him a motive and it makes his killing path a lot more just straightforward. Like, with him having a goal, what's he gonna do after he kills his sisters? Does that mean, like, you know, goal done, set done, it's all over? I just feel like it takes away some of the meaning, and as an audience member, it's harder to put yourself in the shoes of being a Michael Myers target if you're just like, well, if I stay away from his sister, I'm fine. It's kind of like Jason Voorhees. It's like, well, as long as I stay away from Camp Crystal Lake, I'm safe. So I find it makes him just less scary than just being an insane psychopath that broke out of a mental institution. And it can happen to anyone, right? Like, there could be a crazy neighbor or whatever. I think it just removes some of the scare factor. I have always been against giving Michael Myers a super clear motive. I don't mind that he's making his way home. That's fine. Because the houses are everywhere, right? Like, maybe like a crazy psychopath used to live right next to me and he just wants to come home. And then he's just gonna start freaking butchering people left and right. I don't have a problem with that. But, like, the brother-sister thing, not a fan. Never was. That's my opinion. For some people, they love the brother-sister thing, and that's perfectly fine. For me, though, not my Myers. I prefer my Myers to not have that to him. The final chase, though, it isn't bad. It's enjoyable. Myers moving a little too stiff does take me out a little bit, but I do enjoy it. I really like the hospital setting. So there's a lot of things I like about this movie, but there's also quite a few things I'm not a huge fan of. But I really like it. I really like it. It just isn't my favorite. Halloween 3. All right, after all the praise I heard this movie getting, I thought I was gonna love this movie. I think it's overrated, though. I think it's either a low B or a high C. I'll give it the benefit. I recently saw it, like I said. It's good, but, like, it gets so much hype as of recent, and I don't think it's really deserved. The romance, if you even want to call it that, it's way too quick. Like, I do not feel like these people are, like, building up chemistry, and it's like the one dude's, like, old enough to be her dad and stuff. It's kind of weird. The villain isn't super memorable. He's not bad, but he's not super memorable. I like the feeling of Doomsday approaching, kind of like in Majora's Mask. Like, it feels like the moon is crashing and, like, you're like, oh, what's gonna happen in, like, X days or whatever. It's kind of cool, like, piecing that mystery together. The performances are good. I like the actors and actresses, and I thought they all did a fine job. I really enjoyed it. It's good, but I think a lot of the other Halloweens are stronger. than Halloween 3. No, in my opinion, I don't think it's that great. Halloween 4, though. Woo, baby. A tier. I love Halloween 4 so much. And the pacing super fast. It's like this high intense. It's like the Jason Lives of Halloween movies. I think Jason Lives is better, but Halloween 4 is, it's a bit of a banger, dude. Halloween 4. Besides, there are some things that hold it back a little bit from it being S tier, but super fast. I'm a little more forgiving of the plotline since it's a sequel to H2. They're not the ones that started it up, you know what I mean? So I'm a little more forgiving. I'm still not a big fan, but I can put it aside. Just like in Halloween 2, I can still enjoy it. I can still enjoy it to it, and I can kind of ignore it or whatever it is. It's not like a complete deal breaker to me. I'm not a fan, but I can still kind of ignore it. Mask is hideous once again. Donald Pleasance, though, once again, he kills it, dude. He's so great. Is it a little silly he survived the fire? Yeah, I don't care, though. It's silly that Myers survived the fire in H2, which, by the way, talking about H2 again, I really do like the Halloween 2 ending with him on fire and stuff like that. That stuff is sick. Halloween 4, though. Love the characters. I love Danielle Harris as Jamie. Jamie is a fun, great protagonist. It's crazy she's such a great little child. Like, you don't see very good child actors too much. And I mean, the original Halloween, they do a good job. But to be like a lead role, Danielle Harris, oh my goodness. Little kid Danielle Harris freaking rocked the socks off. I liked Myers' performance a little more in this one from what I remember. Myers is a little less stiff in this one. Not a big fan of the shoulder pads or the mask. I'm guessing the mask is because of rights issues. William Shatner's legal team or whatever is probably like, hey, I don't really like that you're using our star's face. Is kind of like the main villain, the essence of evil. We don't really like that. I'm sure that probably went on. So I won't judge it too harshly. I'm still upset every single time I look at this poster and it is the William Shatner mask, and then I go into it and I'm like, what if it actually was? Oh man, if this had the Shatner mask, it'd be even better. The gas station scene with Loomis is so cool, with him trying to reach Michael and stuff like that. And like, with the freaking truck exploding and then you like meet like the crazy old coot in his truck who's like tracking down evil himself, and like, him and Loomis have a conversation. That's super sick. The final chase is intense. I like Michael like mowing people down. People like wearing Myers as like a Halloween costume and stuff like that. I really like this movie. It's a fast-paced, fun movie. It's super fun. Easy A tier. Great movie. Halloween 5, though. This is a fat F. Halloween 5 is so bad. It is the exact opposite of 4. With Halloween 4, something happening left and right. Halloween 5 is boring. It feels like nothing happens in this movie. I hate nearly all of the characters in the film, all of the teenagers, like every single one of them just feel like a carbon copy of each other. They dumb down Rachel too, which is a sin. They dumb down Jamie, which is a sin. All of the interesting characters in this movie, the only one I found to be remotely entertaining, and he wasn't even meant to be entertaining, I found the character Mikey to be hilarious because of his actor's performance. He seemed bipolar or something. I don't know. I just found him to be really funny, but not for the good reasons. But he's the only character that actually legitimately entertained me, other than Donald Pleasance's Loomis, of course. I do like seeing Loomis get more desperate. That's neat. He has a few cool one-liners here, like "Stop the rage," and she can stop it. I like seeing him get more desperate. That's pretty cool. But it feels like Michael is like a background piece in all of this, because it just feels like he takes forever to do anything. And it brings down his threat levels. The fact that like he actually like takes the girl to the cigarette store after she asks and stuff like that. There's so much dumb stuff. It's also the worst mask in the whole franchise. The performance for Myers isn't terrible though. I don't think he's super stiff in this one, if I recall correctly. There are some cool kills, like there's the pitchfork, and then there's the scene with Mikey where he like claws the dude's car and then whacks him in the head with the gardening tool. And then at the very end, there is that one laundry chute scene. Yes, that scene's good. Little messed up when you learned that they were actually stabbing the little laundry chute, and Jamie, well, not Daniel Harris actually could have been harmed in that. I think that's pretty scummy, and that there was a much better way to do that. But I mean, the scene itself, good. It's good, but like one scene out of all of this, you get Michael Myers crying. I think that is a sin. Humanizing Myers to that extent is terrible. There's the black trench coat, which they clearly had no idea what they were doing with. Michael fiddling with his chains. There's so much in this movie I hate, and it does the worst thing a movie ever could. It's boring. It is horrifically boring. So yeah. Before I'll get more into a review, but essentially those are my reasons why I don't like Halloween 5. Ow. Halloween 6. I'm gonna be rating this off of the theatrical version, since that's the one I saw. It's okay. It's okay. It's not great, but it's not as bad as 5. I hate the cult stuff, but I appreciate in the theatrical cut, they make it clear they don't really have control over him. So it's a little better for me. The characters aren't as bad from 5, but anything would have been better than 5, so that's not saying a lot. Paul Rudd is terrible as Tommy. He's so bland. He's so boring. He's terrible. Donald Pleasance. Oh my goodness. Loomis is so sweet in this. Seeing him in like his little home and having him like kind of found peace. It's so sweet. I really like his performance in this. He seems like such a happy old man until like the Myers stuff happens again. But I really like seeing Pleasance in this. There are some legitimate chase scenes I actually do like more than in 5. In which one thing, this movie never really bored me. At least the theatrical cut. It was fast-paced enough I was never bored. The beginning chase scene with Rachel I really like. There is a weird thing like how did Myers not hear the baby or anything like that. But I'm willing to forgive it. At least it was entertaining, and that's all I could really ask for. The guy that played the villain, I liked it. That actor, I thought he was fine. The aesthetic of the movie, I really liked. There's a lot of blue lighting. There is, like, in the mornings, it does feel like fall. I really do like the aesthetic, which another thing, Halloween 4 also nails that. Feeling of fall is very much nailed in both of those movies. The mask is the best it's been since Halloween 2. I think the mask is actually pretty good. It looks good in quite a few of the shots. Little more forgiving of the plot, I guess, because it is following up Halloween 5, the abomination that is Halloween 5. It at least kind of feels like it knows where it's going. 5 felt like it was drunk trying to make its way home, but had no idea how to get there. This movie feels a little tipsy, but it does kind of find its way home. It at least finds its neighbor's house. It gets close to home. Like, it feels like it actually is trying to head in a direction. So, there's a lot of plot lines that never, like, come to fruition. Like, Danny, like, being, the Myers protege or whatever, and then nothing ever really coming from it. That's a little weird. I don't know if that actually happens in the producer's cut. I'd say the theatrical cut's ending is a smidge better than the producer's cut, but not by much. But once again, it entertained me. There's some really solid kills in this. I was never bored. It entertained me beginning to end, even if it was because it was so bad, but I never found it to be so bad that it was boring. So, and for that reason, I would put in Halloween 6, and I could have an okay time with it. So, there you go. If it was the producer's cut, it'd probably be a D tier because of the cult stuff. I'm not a fan of the idea of Michael Myers being controlled in the slightest. I hate that. But you do get more Loomis, though, but at the same time, Myers is my number 1. And if you ruin the shape, he's the main antagonist. He's what you should be scared of in this horror film. So if you ruin Myers, it takes me out of it. So, producers here, theatrical here. I imagine. Like I mentioned earlier, I haven't seen the producers in a while. But after that, age 20. It's been a long time since I've seen this movie. I remember liking it more than Halloween 3, though, so we'll put it here. I remember really liking it. I like seeing Laurie dealing with her trauma. I don't remember any of the characters angering me. I don't really remember it being boring. I remember there being a few silly moments, but it got me to laugh, so I don't count that as a negative. As long as I enjoyed it, it feels like an extremely triumphant film for Laurie, and that's not a bad thing. That's not a bad thing at all. It has a fantastic ending, and I remember liking the music. The mask looks pretty bad again. I don't like seeing Myers' eyes as much as we do. I don't remember loving it as much as some of the other films, but I remember having a pretty good time with it. Until I see it again, though, I won't say too much about it, but I do remember really liking it. At least more than 3, but not as much as 2. So it'll sit right here. Oh, boy. Halloween Resurrection. This movie sucks. This movie is really bad. I would say this is their attempt at a Jason X sort of movie. It really just isn't nearly as entertaining. It's a sort of so bad it's good, but I remember a good portion of this movie not being entertaining to any degree. Busta Rhymes is hilarious though, and does feature the most humiliating like movie ever for Michael Myers ever, like him getting like karate kicked and like all that fun stuff. Like this movie is embarrassing for Myers. It does not make him out to be a threat at all. And I don't like how the mask is so angry. It's an improvement over age 20, but the mask, it has too much emotion in it. I prefer it when it's just this blank slate and there's not really... The 6th one also looks a smidge angry, but not really. But this one looks just angry. Not a fan. But I remember the majority of the characters being bland, but I do remember there were bits and pieces that entertained me more than Halloween 5. So I'll put it in D tier. If I watch it again, it might even get lower. But it's been a while since I've seen it. But those are my thoughts as far as I could remember. Oh boy, here we go. Here's one that a lot of people are probably curious about. Rob Zombie's Halloween, baby. So the last time I did a tier list on stream, my chat was ready to crucify me for the high ranking I gave it. And I don't even consider it a high rank. I gave it a high C tier. I think I put it above Halloween, The Curse of Michael Myers. But I believe I did say rewatching it, I could put it here or here. And I have recently rewatched it because of chat's blatant, blunt, I'm wrong, you need to fix your opinion. I rewatched the film and I do agree to an extent. I don't think it's like an F or beyond F or anything like that. It wasn't as good as I remembered it being. That's not saying much. But I will say I did like it more than Resurrection. I liked it more than Resurrection, and it entertained me way more than Halloween 5 ever could. So, all right, let's talk about it. I was looking at the movie from the perspective of a Halloween fan. This movie blows. The interpretation of the Shape, if you can even call this guy the Shape, pales in comparison to what the original was. It removes everything that made the Shape special. They gave him motive, which I am never super fond of. I didn't like it in any of the other films, and it's even worse here. They reduced Myers from being a pure evil entity to boy with family issues. A lot of people say this Myers is the most intimidating, and when he's standing right next to you, sure, I guess, but he just doesn't have nearly as much of a presence or mystery to him. He just feels like big, strong, angry guy. I'm gonna beat you. He doesn't feel like the boogeyman. He feels more like Jason in this film, I guess, and not even a great Jason. He just, I don't know. And when you get to the actual remake stuff of the original, it feels extremely rushed. I don't understand why you would recreate so much of the first one and not try your own thing. Because they're clearly trying to do their own thing. They're setting up a backstory for Michael Myers. I think the first like 30, 20 minutes of this movie is watching a child Michael Myers be formed into the murderer we see. So if you're going to try your own thing, I don't mind them going into the events of 1978, but like they like almost recreate them to a T, not like not almost down to the dialogue. It has like its own small twist here and there. I enjoyed the movie a lot more when they were creating their own things with it, like in the last chase with Laurie, like, you know, he beats the house stuff. Like, I enjoyed watching new things. Because if you're just recreating the original, and might I add, in like a shoddy way, like the characters are way more unlikable. Like, I loved Linda, Annie, and Laurie in the original. I enjoyed Laurie in this one, but Linda's straight up unlikable in this one. She's a, well, we'll keep it PG, but she's a mean lady. I don't like her. I didn't really like Linda in this movie. Linda was pretty thick. Annie was played by Danielle Harris, so she gets like a few bonus points. And Danielle Harris did a fine job, but the writing, I feel like Annie was more fun in the original. There's some of the dialogue, like they're talking about sex right in front of two, like, 7-year-olds. Like, come on, really? I feel like Laurie would have been like, hey, not in front of the kids, even if Annie was gonna go off on that. There's just some things that don't really make sense. But there are some scenes I do like. There are a few things. Like I said, when it's trying its own thing, I don't really like seeing Kid Michael too much, but it wasn't the worst thing ever. If you think of it as its own thing, and you don't think of it as the original Halloween, it's okay. Like, it's not, I wouldn't say I was bored, but the entire time the remake stuff was happening, and I'm comparing it to the original, especially that, like, when they're recreating shots from the original, you should compare it to the original, and it's way rushed. Like, the characters don't get to breathe and live and stuff like that, which is why I feel like they should have tried their own thing. And a plot line that my girlfriend Nikki pointed out while we were watching is it doesn't make any sense as to how Michael Myers found Laurie. Because Laurie has a new name. She grew up. There's no way he even knows, like, he should know that she's even still in Haddonfield. New name. She looks completely different from when she was a baby. There's no way he would know what she looks like. It's just... It's not very good. But there are some things... I do like a few kills within the movie. Like, there are some personality bits with Myers, like when he pushes the hanging body and he, like, watches it wibble wobble back and stuff like that. But, and to me, this isn't the shape. It's just Michael. Not even, like, Myers. It'd be, like, Michael Stevenson or something like that. He just doesn't feel like the shape, but it entertained me to a degree. Do not take that in the way that I think this movie is good. I do not. I think it's so-so, and I think it's on the lower end of so-so. But I don't think it's terrible. Halloween 2018. I love this movie. This movie is great. This movie's awesome. A tier. A fat A tier. Super good movie. A lot of what this film does really works for me. I enjoy following the two reporter characters from the start. The feeling of autumn is, once again, sorry for hitting you guys with the mic. I'm getting excited. Anyways, the feeling of autumn, super strong in this movie. I love, like, it sets up the aesthetic for fall perfectly. The mask is my second favorite in the whole franchise. I love the take on the Myers character, a back to formula kind of thing, taking him back to the roots with removing the motive and the brother-sister plotline, making him an unpredictable killing machine. I enjoy the majority of the characters as well. Jamie kills it as Laurie. I mean, of course she does. She's great. I wasn't too fond of Allison. It wasn't the actress's fault. I just found her to be, the writing-wise, a little bland, but I did like her. I did like that she's sympathizing with his grandmother and stuff. But I actually found her friend Vicky to be more fun to watch on stream. I found her to be extremely likable. I wish there was more of her in the movie. I wish she actually got a proper chase scene and stuff like that. Julian is adorable. He's cute. Every second Julian's on screen, he steals the show. I'm a little biased to Aaron, since for one, I share his name, and I'm also ginger, and you know, so is he. So it's the closest I'll get to being in a Halloween movie. And I'll take it. I'll take it. I think some of the comedy doesn't land, and some of it feels out of place, which brings it down a bit for me. For example, when things are getting super, super tense, while the cop scene with the baguettes is entertaining, I do feel like it didn't fit in that specific moment. And I think it removes a lot of the tension, and I don't know, it just takes me out of it a little bit. It's fun to watch, and I think the two cops do a good job. But I think it, maybe if they shortened it a little bit, I think it'd be fine. But it goes on for a very, very long time, and the whole peanut butter on my fingers. Like, some of the comedy doesn't really work for me. It doesn't feel supernatural in certain points, but Another thing I'm not a big fan of, I'm not a fan of Sartain putting on the mask. It's a little hokey to me. I don't really like the interpretation at the beginning of the mental patients as like animals, they're people. I don't really like that. It's like, in a way, like they compare it to the dog being able to sense its people. I don't know if I'm very fond of that, personally. But other than that, I really, really like this movie. The final bit with Lori, it's a little too quick. I think there should have been a little bit more with the final showdown with Lori. It's still really enjoyable. Some legitimate tension. I love that Myers is back to his Myers thingies. Like, you know, he like sets up bodies and like he gets all decorative. He's a little like, you know, he drops the teeth and stuff like that. He feels like the old prankster that he was in the original, like setting up people's heads as jack-o'-lanterns and stuff like that. It feels like Michael Myers again. He hasn't felt this true to his character since in my opinion, the original. It feels like they legitimately just yoinked him and slapped him right back into this one. There isn't a lot of stalking though, and the amount of suspense there is some suspense, like in the ending scene with Lori and stuff like that when she's checking room to room. And if the trailer didn't ruin it, the scene with Vicky in the house with Myers in the closet, there's some suspense there. And there's also that really, really cool scene with the motion sensors. And it has one of my favorite scenes in the Halloween franchise, the long one shot where Myers goes on a small little killing spree, gets his knife and all that fun stuff, with one of my favorite tracks from the franchise as well. I did a review. I'll probably do another review on it if you want to check it out and I go into more detail. But now, Halloween Kills. And remember, I haven't seen Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, so this is serving as Halloween Kills. So, Halloween Kills. Where do I put Kills? It's an A tier for me. A lot of the problems people have with this movie, I don't agree with personally. I think the biggest one I hear is people making stupid decisions within the film. But you have to remember that these aren't hard-trained war veterans or anything to that effect. Like, literally one of them's, Marion, is like a 70-year-old nurse, or 60s, somewhere around there. Like, they're not going to be making they're not going to be making super smart decisions. A lot of them are teenagers. None of them are really, like, cops or anything. The majority of people that, like, are in chases are just, like, stay-at-home moms and stuff. They're not going to be, like... They don't face action most days. An officer makes it very clear in the 78 flashback that Haddonfield is a quiet little town. Not a lot happens. They're not going to be ready for something like this. Which also makes sense that people remember the Halloween events from 1978 because not a lot happened. So Michael Myers would stand out a lot more. So I think for me, it makes sense that they would remember that a lot more. But yeah, these people are nurses, stay-at-home moms, fathers. They're not soldiers. I've known people freeze up in an online match of Street Fighter. There's no way they're going to be, like, thinking straight when a murderer is coming for them. And I'm sure a lot of people that are making the claims also would just freeze up in a competitive video game. When a murderer is coming for you, you're not going to be making rational decisions. Unless you're, like, SWAT team, CIA, or whatever. But I personally don't have a huge problem with it. I do think Lonnie not waiting for backup, I think that was really good. That was super, super stupid. But other than that, I think most of the decisions in this movie, I think are fine. But yeah, I'm rambling. I'll save that stuff for the review. I've always loved the idea of Haddonfield versus Myers. We got a small taste of it in Halloween 4, like I mentioned. But in this movie, it's not more than just like a small few people coming after Myers. It feels like the whole town wants Myers, which is what I've always wanted. It isn't perfect, but I had a ton of fun with this movie. Myers' portrayal outside of like 2018 in the original. I actually like his portrayal in this one more than in 2018. I think it just like further emphasizes Myers' traits. He doesn't feel like Jason to me, like him decorating bodies. He's extremely sadistic in this movie, like forcing, which I mean, I don't know if you could tell, but there are spoilers for Halloween Kills. Hoorah. If you want to click off now, I think it's a high A tier. Woohoo. But anyways, back to the thing, like making the old couple, making the old lady watch as he killed her significant other. Oh, that's messed up. And like, you know, putting the knives in the body. Like it's almost as if we get to see him like setting up the arts and crafts stuff, which we don't really get to see that very often. We don't get to see him actually setting up the bodies too much. And it was like a small little trinket into like his thought process or something into doing it. Like the way he moves is so different from when he's in kill mode. It's like he's in 6-year-old elementary arts and crafts mode. And I really enjoyed that little segment. There's a ton of scenes I really, really like in this movie. But yeah, James Ducournau kills it as Myers. He is outside of Nick Castle. He's my favorite Myers, and it's a super, super close second. It honestly feels like this is a natural aging Myers. Like it feels like the same Myers. He's just aged up a bit. Like it feels like Michael Myers the way he moves and stuff like that. He's great. Is the shape fantastic? They made characters I disliked in 2018, like Cameron. I liked him in this one. I liked every single character in this movie. I didn't really like Karen in 2018. In this movie, she's one of my favorite characters. Big John and Little John are fantastic. I really like the kids that like pulled a little prank on him, on Little John, Big John. Lonnie, Lindsay, Tommy, Lori, Officer Hawkins. Even just the victims you don't see a whole lot of, like the old couple. From what you do see, like they do a really good job at making nearly everybody likable. I could see why someone wouldn't like Tommy. I found him to be adorable. Like the one scene with him and Lori, I think there should have been a little more of him and Lori talking. I also wish there was a scene of him and Brackett talking. And I wish when Brackett interacted with the shape at the very end, I wish he brought up Annie and not just the callback line. I get it's a callback, but I really wish he would have mentioned Annie and not just kind of throw out a, you know, 90s one-liner or whatever. But you know, that's like nitpicking. I actually like most of the hospital scenes. I like seeing the characters interact and stuff like that. The only one I'm not a huge fan of is the last hospital scene when they're chasing down the gentleman. I don't remember his name. The penguin cobblepot looking guy. I wasn't the biggest fan of the scene. It dragged a little too much to me. I feel like if they like cut it just a little bit, and I do feel like when Myers is in the house with Little John, Big John, there was a lot of tension picking up, and then they cut to the hospital, and for me, like, it plucked a lot of the tension out. And I wish there still was an actual chase scene. Like we do get the kind of chase scene when he goes after Lindsay, but there's not like an actual like chase fight back kind of scene. I am glad that we at least got that. I would have still let that scene breathe a little more, but I still love this scene. Every scene at this point, I'm not quite nitpicking. I'd say like I'd still like to see like an actual chase scene in the future, like that. A lot of people's complaints with the Myers stalking and stuff. I think he hides in the shadows a decent amount in this movie. It's not nearly as much as like the original. I think it's more than 2018. And the movie goes by really fast for me. I think the pacing's really good. I think narratively, like story-wise, I think 2018's better. Like I think the actual story it has to tell is better. But I think kills in terms of characters, pacing, Myers' portrayal, and stuff like that, and the amount of fun I actually have with the movie. And the flashback alone, for me, the flashback is done so well. The flashback alone makes it better than 2018 for me. And that, for me, is why it sits at a super high A tier. Super creative kills all about. I'll save the rest for an actual review. But this is my Halloween tier list. Tell me what you think. Do you disagree with me? If you do, let me know what your opinion is. Where would you put movies? What would you place differently? What do you agree with? Let me know. And if you want to see more stuff like this, please leave a fat subscribe and leave a comment. Maybe a like. Maybe. Pretty please. But thank you so much, especially if you stuck to the very end to watch this. Thank you so much. Until next time, stay safe, everybody.